Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be an e.l.f. haul. Of course, in typical e.l.f. fashion, there are a ton of new products, and probably by the time I post this, there will be even more new things that I haven't tried yet. But I do have quite a few new things that I've been playing around with, so in a lot of cases in this video, I'll be able to sort of give you my review on most of these things. But first off, I have to say thank you so much to everybody who came out to the meet and greet at the Ulta store in Chicago just a couple days ago. It was so much fun. It was really, I said this on Instagram, but this will go down as one of my best days ever. Doing what I do and like 95% of the time just getting to interact with you guys like through a screen and through typed comments, for me to get to hug you and tell you thank you and look you in the eye and just tell you how much I appreciate you, that was so good. That was such a good feeling for me. And those of you who traveled from neighboring states and took so much time out of your day, or you got off work and you ran over, like, I so appreciate that because you feel like long lost friends. So thank you Physicians Formula, thank you Ulta. Jumping into this haul, the thing that really drove me to do the haul was the sponge trio. Yes, e.l.f. has had like a little blender sponge before. I didn't love it so much. It wasn't the all-time worst blender sponge that I tried, and I think I talked about it in my top 5 bottom 5 video, but it left something to be desired. And so here they're doing a trio, and I have just cleaned mine, so they are fully dampened and they are at their maximum size. Like, this is a big sponge. It's a big freaking sponge. Look at it next to just the traditional beauty blender. It's so big. Like, the butt end of it is larger. It doesn't quite taper to as much of a point. It's just wider in every way. And then they've got a medium size. And this, I actually find, in the way it performs, I find this to be a bit more comparable to the classic beauty blender. Even though it's a little shorter, it doesn't come to quite as much of a point. Like, this was the one I was reaching for more because this just felt so darn big. And then I would say my favorite of the group is the little Micro Mini, and I will hold that up to the Beauty Blender's Micro Mini. It's still a little larger, but it does do a very similar job. This is the one of the 3 that I'm actually satisfied with the amount of point that it comes to, because these other ones, see how they just blow up and it's like they're practically rounded off there with just the tiniest point, and it doesn't really help you that much. So with this, if you do actually want to take that around the under eye, it does a good job. These are very soft sponges. You can feel them as soon as you get them under the sink. You can tell, okay, they're absorbing the water. I can wring the water out and they will grow in size, and they're very soft. I can't speak too much to the durability yet because I've only cleaned these like twice, and being clean, you can see they were kind of resistant to getting totally 100% clean, and I used my Beauty Blender Solid Cleanser with them. Comparing these two in terms of sponginess, I feel like the e.l.f. feels just a little more dense than the Micro Mini. This is even more like kind of light and spongy, and that's really the thing I love so much about the Micro Mini, is I like how it feels light as air. You can dab in your concealer and feel like you're barely applying any pressure, yet it still gets blended. This, feels a little bit heavier on that area, so I don't think these have really taken over and become like my new favorite sponges by any means, but they are definitely leaps and bounds ahead of some of the different generic sponges that have come out. Certain ones, if you go back to my top 5 bottom 5 video on blender sponges, any of those in the bottom 5 that I complained about being hard as rocks, they can't absorb water, they don't soften up at all, these really do soften up. And I feel like they do a pretty good job just bouncing across the skin and having that nice texture that you want. Shape seems to be a concern with me a little bit more with these larger ones, and I think about, what are the reasons why I love my Real Techniques sponge so much, for example. And I love the shape. I like that flat edge. It offers a little more versatility. You do end up with a nice kind of pointed tip with that sponge as well. And with these, you really do lose something when they blow up and get big, because that point just, it's not nearly as pointed as the point of a beauty blender. And if you're wondering what is the closest thing you found to being like the Beauty Blender Micro Mini, it's definitely the one in this set. I haven't even seen a lot of Micro Mini dupes created out there, but I know know the one from Up and Up, Target's brand, absolutely sucked. I'm sorry, it was just, it did nothing, like a little bitty rock. And this one is definitely the closest thing I've tried to being like the Micro Mini. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. A little description of those 3 sponges. They come in a tray. Obviously, when they get big, they don't fit back in their tray, but you can use that to kind of stand them up. And then this is the box they come in as well. The directions, just like with a beauty blender, wet the sponge with water, squeeze out the excess, bounce the sponge across the face to blend in makeup. And something I just want to give a brief mention to because I need to use these more. It's the e.l.f. Hydrating Water Cleansing Cloths. So different brands have come out with like a micellar water cleansing cloth type thing, and I think this may be e.l.f.'s take on that. You get 20 pre-moistened cloths in here, and it's crazy. I started to take off my makeup last night, and just as I began to take it off with my normal Equate wipe thingy, I remembered, oh my gosh, I've got those e.l.f. wipes I have to use. And they're a decent wipe in that I don't feel like fumes are coming off of them like into my eyes. So many of these wipes that are pre-moistened are so heavily scented, and it bothers me a little bit, and it definitely bothers my eyes. These do have a light scent to it, but it's nothing too overbearing, and I could definitely get it right around the eye area, and it didn't cause irritation. And I felt like as I applied more pressure to my skin with the wipes, they almost felt a little bit exfoliating, you know, like there was a little texture there. Not super heavy duty, but just slightly. I was only taking off like a partial face of makeup at that time, so I'm gonna have to use these more and tell you how effectively they actually remove a full face of makeup. But yeah, those are in the works and something I'll be messing with. The tone correcting powder, I know some of you had tried that. It's been around for years in e.l.f.'s line. It's like a little rectangular face powder with 4, you know, quadrants of color, and they all look kind of like different pastel tones. Well, now they've come out with one that's labeled warm, and this is what it looks like. And you've got the yellow and kind of a light peach shade here, a light blue, and then kind of a beige in here as well. So the idea is you can swirl these colors together, and it's going to be sort of a corrective powder on your skin. And so I was eager to try this, and when I first used it, I just went all over my face with it after I put on foundation, and I thought, whoa, 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 dial it back, because it looked, maybe part of it was that it had a very light look in comparison to my skin tone. That's all the shades actually blended together. It's a very light and matte powder, so that can have the potential to look a little dry and cakey. So today, I just chose to use it as an under eye setting powder, and I actually think it did a pretty, oops, little speck there. It actually did a decent job in that area. I definitely like it better on the under eye than all over the face for me, and I really liked kind of honing in on these 2 shades, the yellow and the peach. I found that to be really brightening. But I think my takeaway is still that a little goes a long way with this product because it just is so matte. You know, you don't want to make your skin look overly dry with powders like this. So just be aware, you know, there is another color option out there now. For my skin tone, you might say, you know, are you warm or are you cool? And I tend to feel like I am very neutral. I can generally get away with a lot of different tones on my skin, whether they are more of a warm family or cool color family. Don't look to this as a powder that's going to have a lot of coverage and it's completely going to like color correct your skin. Look at it as something that's going to be more brightening and definitely mattifying. And the brush, by the way, that I used it with, if you've got like the e.l.f. small tapered brush, that's a good thing to use if you do use it on the under eye. Another new shade that e.l.f. has come out with in an existing product is their bronzer in golden. So they've got a cool bronzer, a warm bronzer, and now the golden bronzer, which looks a heck of a lot like the warm bronzer. In fact, I will bust mine out to show you. Okay, here's cool bronzer. It's like its own animal. I think I did a video one time where I really multitasked like crazy with this particular bronzer palette, like all over the face. So there's that one. But then you've got the warm, and this is what that looks like. And yes, I have hit pan on that puppy. And now here's the new golden. So you can see a lot of similarities. I feel like the warmth just has a little more intensity. Each shade in the warm palette just kind of is a little more different from one another, if you know what I mean. There's a little more contrast between the colors. This one, everything is a little bit closer. And on my skin tone, I don't get a real bronzed effect. I have put this on all over, and it's just the most subtle effect ever. So if you've got really fair skin and you like the idea of a light, just softly shimmery glow, this whole thing just has the most subtle glow to it ever. Might be exactly what some people are looking for, but I could see a large number of people who are used to bronzers that just have a lot more depth to them trying this and being like, you know, that's not enough, it's too watered down. So I just wanted to let you know that's out there, but in general, I feel like I get more impact and more versatility out of the warm bronzer. And the cool, like I said, that's a different thing altogether. And I'll try to find that video where I use that a lot. Now, the story of this video, another new shade that e.l.f. has put out in an existing product is their bronzer palette. They've put out a deep bronzer palette. So as with their little 4-in-1 palettes, the shades do pop out. You know, you have that ability to sort of rearrange things if you had multiple shades at home. I'll show you how it compares to the light bronzer palette, which has been out for a while. They both have a variety of finishes. So there are 2 completely matte shades in this palette, and then one has a little more sparkle and one has like a satiny finish. And with this one, definitely 2 matte shades right here. This one has quite a bit of like almost glittery sparkle, which I don't love. And then this shade is a little bit more like a satiny or softer shimmery finish. For me, I'm really enjoying this deep bronzer palette over the light one because this just, you know, in a lot of situations didn't show up as much on my skin as I would like. All of these shades are very pigmented. I feel like there's just more versatility with them. I love that you are getting 2 that are totally matte. Now, I've been using my Lorac Take Me to Tantigo palette quite a bit lately, and I'm sure some of you are wondering how those compare. And I would say there are way more similarities with the deep bronzer palette to this one than the lighter one has. The lighter one just didn't come close to touching the Lorac palette. This one, you know, the tones are not identical, but the overall theory is the same in that in both of these palettes you're getting 2 mattes, 2 shimmers. You know, the colors, if you were to swatch them all out side by side, they're not the same, but there are similarities there. Now, in the past, e.l.f. has had some really good, like, cheap eyeshadow primers, you know, the kinds that come out, twist out with a little wand, and I've thought, you know, they can definitely do the job. They've been pretty good for me. And now they've got a new thing called Pro Eyeshadow Primer in this little tube, and it says a Pro Strength Eyelid Primer that can be used as a base to help prevent creasing and smudging of eyeshadow for long-wearing color. Something I found kind of odd about the tube, there is a really big hole in the tube, so just FYI, you will only need to squeeze out a little bit. And it has kind of a different feel from let's say the Milani Eyeshadow Primer or Urban Decay Primer Potion. It's not quite so quick to feel dry, like kind of dry down on the skin. It's a little more balm-like maybe there's a little more moisture in this product. I've used this a couple times and I did not have any creasing or any problem with this product under, you know, whatever eyeshadow I was using, probably my Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. You know, everything worked fine the couple days that I've used it. I think I'm gonna have to use it more and use it in some different conditions that challenge the product a little bit more, but it's been so far so good. One thing I noticed right off the bat was when I squeezed some of the primer out, there had been some separation, like a little bit of liquid squeezed out ahead of the actual creamy primer. So I don't love to see that as soon as I get a product, but that does happen at times. And real quickly, another eye thing that I got that I'm wearing today is from their Beautifully Bare line, and it's the Smooth Matte Eyeshadow. And the shades in this, when I was choosing from the website, a lot of the shades were very picked over, but I ended up with soft beige. And this ends up being a color that's just like a little more peachy, I would say, and maybe slightly deeper than my skin tone. But you've got a wand applicator here, and this is all I've got on my eyes in terms of shadow today. So I just kind of dabbed a little bit on each eyelid, blended it all over the lid, and I also took it, you know, just up into the crease as well, and slightly above. And I really just blended it out with my fingers. So it was very easy to work with. Definitely a different texture from a lot of cream shadows that I've tried because it's very slippery and it doesn't feel like when, as soon as you put it on, you're like, is this stuff ever going to actually set? Because it has just a lighter, softer, a little bit more sheer look and feel compared to a lot of like the eye paint type products that you might put on, and they're very full color and you feel like you got to blend them really, really quickly or else they're going to set that way forever. Like, I mean, this, you do have a lot of wiggle room, I think, in terms of blending, and they do eventually set. But that being said, if you layer this on really thick, I think you're going to wait even longer for it to set, or you might not notice a completely dry feeling. I was so tempted to like top this off with some other shadows and really play with the look and do some layering and whatnot, but something in the back of my mind said, no, just show them what this shade and this shade alone looks like. So this is what it looks like. It says it's infused with vitamin E to help nourish and hydrate. I've blended some out here on my hand, and it really isn't going anywhere, but yet it still does not feel 100% dry. I don't know that I'm so intrigued with this product that I would really care to purchase more shades in it, but what I have I think works decent, you know, and it might make a nice base for some other eye looks because it is such a matte neutral shade. A new face product that I got are these highlighting dewy drops, and the shade is just called Illuminating, and it says a liquid highlighter with illuminating pigments that bring light to the face for glowing dewy complexion. And in the directions, they basically say you can get some of this on your finger and just start tapping it all over your skin. Well, I did try that the first time I used it, and I think it's important to be aware that there is potentially a lot of separation with this product. Like what I just squeezed out on my skin is very runny, and there was a lot of clear liquid that came out. You actually can shake this product up a little bit, so I would recommend doing that. But even so, it's a texture that's going to feel very oily, kind of greasy. If you are a very oily skin type, this is probably the last thing I would say should be going on top of your skin as like a finishing touch step. I've totally rubbed it in on my hand, and you can see this pretty subtle glow that's coming through a little bit. It's not like a glittery glow. It's almost kind of hard to put your finger on exactly what you're seeing there, but it's a nice look all blended in, but just tapped like in certain key areas on top of makeup, I don't think it looks so good. It looked kind of patchy on me, and then when I tried to sort of improve the situation by topping it off with a different kind of highlight, it really, really wanted to just cling to the areas where I had this, and it was just too much. So the way I plan to get use out of this is actually blending it in with a moisturizer or working it into a foundation and then blending that all over the skin, because I think pinpointed areas and on top of makeup, the oily consistency that this takes on, I'm just not comfortable with that. Now next up, just a couple different kinds of lip products that I discovered on e.l.f.'s website. One of them is their lip lacquers, and I have them in purple and natural, and this looks like straight up concealer, and I will try that on for you and let you see what it looks like. But the purple is what I've been wearing throughout the video. This is just one light layer of the product, so all things considered, I think that's a pretty opaque, pretty full color look. It is very shiny, and I was wearing this all throughout the day a couple days ago, and I didn't notice any bleeding outside my lips, like up into fine lines around the lips, and I thought it actually wore pretty well for it being such a non-sticky product. There's enough cling happening to the lips, you know what I mean? It's got just enough thickness to really hang on there, but not so much thickness that it feels annoying. And I really like the flat edges to the doe foot applicator. This seems to be the direction more doe foot applicators are going. See how it's more flat and less like just a little scoop for product? So that really helps you get right out to the very edge of your lip. I think this shade is beautiful, and I am really pleasantly surprised with this formula. So I love the purple. I'm not so thrilled with the color of the natural shade just because it is so like kind of erase your mouth nude, but it is shiny, so it has that kind of in its favor. But I would definitely be up for trying some more shades of this formula. I think it's a good formula. I do like how opaque the colors appear to be, so I think that's a really good sign. Now the other product I got are called lip tints, and these are again a new product to e.l.f.'s line. These are said to be infused with vitamins A and E, shea butter, jojoba oil, grape oil, all olive oil, and it says the formula helps moisturize lips and give a soft shine, and you know, they do come in all different colors as well. So I have Pretty Pink Please, and I got Marvelously Mauve, and also Cheers to Champagne, which has a little bit of a goldeny metallic shimmer to it. These other two shades are just like creamy colors. And while there is an element of sheerness to all of these, I do find the two that are just creamy to be a little more colorful than this one. This one ends up being very sheer on my lips, and the way the applicator goes, it's this kind of thing where it's just like a flat edge and the product squeezes up through, which I don't love. I find that to be a little sloppy, and with so many products that have nice little, like, kind of, even if you're going to squeeze it up through, you know, they might have a spongy applicator there. Those are much more easy to actually get the shape and the line you want around your lips, whereas these, everything kind of mushes out everywhere. So I don't love that. Also, I really had a bad first impression with these when I first used them. The separation was horrible. Like, there was so much just clear, unmixed liquid that I had to squeeze out of these, and I felt like I was squeezing out like half the dang product. I mean, I did not like that feeling, but what else could I do? These aren't the kind of thing where you can really shake them up and, you know, you can kind of try to mush around the tube a little bit, massage the tube, but I don't think that really gets you very far either. So with what remains, I think they've got a decent formula. It's a little bit thicker feeling than the lip lacquers, almost to the point of being kind of sticky. If you already don't consider yourself a gloss person, I don't think you'll like these, because they really, you know, they are kind of thick and also a little bit sticky. The colors of the pink and mauve I think are really beautiful. There is a nice shine that comes off of them, but I don't know that I love them enough to want to pick these up all the time. They're not really unique shades, and while I do have a pretty good tolerance for, you know, a goopy lip product, if I love the shade especially, these just felt a little bit annoying to me on my lips. And like I said, another strike against the product for the delivery method being, you know, that just flat applicator where stuff squeezes up through. I don't love that. So that is my haul, everyone. Tried to review things in situations where I knew enough about the product to review it, but you gotta give credit to e.l.f. They are always creating new things. Some things, you know, in my eyes are hits, some things are misses, but for the affordability of this brand, I think you definitely feel like you can get away with a little experimentation. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.